You check your phone, nothing. You check again, still nothing. Yesterday, the conversation was flowing, laughing, replying fast, almost effortless. Now, silence. No explanation, no warning. Just a sudden disappearance that leaves you replaying everything you said, every word, every emoji, every pause. And the worst part isn't the silence. It's the not knowing. You wonder if you did something wrong, if you asked for too much, if you misread the connection entirely. But here's the quiet truth most people never consider. Ghosting doesn't begin when someone stops replying. It begins long before that. Inside a nervous system that has learned one rule very well. When things get intense, disappear. We're told ghosting is rude, immature, selfish, that it means someone doesn't care. But psychology tells a different story. For many people, ghosting isn't about rejection. It's about relief. It's not a power move. It's a pressure release. And what looks like indifference on the outside is often overload on the inside. To understand ghosting, you don't look at morality. You look at protection. Because ghosting isn't one behavior. It's three. Some people seem warm, engaged, deeply present, until suddenly they're gone. What you don't see is the pressure building inside them, expectations stacking up, unspoken rules forming in their mind. Reply faster, be consistent, don't mess this up. For them, closeness doesn't feel calming. It feels heavy. Their nervous system doesn't register connection as safety. It registers it as responsibility. Often growing up, love came with conditions. Approval when they performed, distance when they didn't. So they learned something early. Connection equals pressure. And disappearing? That reduced the overload. Silence restored control. Distance brought relief. Ghosting wasn't cruelty. It was regulation. Then there are people who disappear right after tension. A serious question. A boundary. A difficult conversation. Inside, their system shuts down. They don't know how to explain. They don't know how to disappoint. So they choose the one option that avoids immediate emotional danger: absence. Many of them grew up where conflict wasn't safe. Arguments escalated. Emotions weren't contained. Silence kept the peace. So they learned. If I don't speak, nothing explodes. Leaving early prevented consequences. Disappearing felt safer than explaining. Ghosting becomes a nonverbal apology they never learned how to say. And then there are people who leave when things start to feel defined, when labels appear, when expectations form, when closeness feels permanent. Inside, they feel something tightening, like freedom is slipping away, like identity is being negotiated without consent. Often they grew up with blurred boundaries, too much involvement, too little emotional space. They learned distance preserves who I am pulling. Away restored autonomy. Silence reasserted independence. For them, ghosting isn't rejection, it's self-preservation. Now imagine your phone with too many apps open. Everything slows down. Nothing works right. That's what emotional overload feels like. Too many emotions, too many expectations, too many imagined futures running at once. Before psychology names it, it just feels unbearable. And when someone demands clarity in that moment, just explain how you feel. The instinct isn't to lean in, it's to pull away. When autonomy feels threatened, the nervous system pushes back. Time plays a role too. Some people feel grounded in the present. Others feel trapped by the future. If the version of yourself that connection leads to feels unfamiliar or unsafe, resistance kicks in. And many of these patterns weren't chosen. They were learned, repeated, modeled, Inherited. Ghosting isn't usually a decision, it's a reflex. Here's the reframe. Most people miss: ghosting is not a character flaw, it's a survival strategy. At some point, disappearing worked. It lowered emotional threat, reduced chaos, restored balance. The brain doesn't update strategies unless safety is proven. So even when the danger is gone, the response remains. Ghosting isn't about hurting others. It's about protecting the self with the tools that once worked best. And if you've ghosted before, you're not broken, you're not heartless, you're not incapable of love, you're wired for protection. Avoidance doesn't mean you don't care. Often it means you care more than you can regulate. Healing doesn't start by forcing yourself to stay. It starts by understanding why leaving felt necessary. Self-compassion isn't excusing behavior. It's understanding its origin. So now the question isn't, why do people ghost? It's, which one are you, the overwhelmed avoider, the conflict freezer, or the autonomy protector? Let me know in the comments. Not to judge, but to understand. Because awareness changes patterns. And we explain the psychology behind everyday habits simply.